But first, a year ago, being black in Northamptonshire would mean you were 9 times more likely to be stopped and searched by police as someone who's white. The situation wasn't much different in Cambridgeshire. In fact, being black anywhere in this region would mean you were at more risk of being stopped. Most of the searches were drugs related, but very few led to arrests. Well, a man in Milton Keynes is so frustrated with his treatment, he's called on the police force to rethink its use of stop and search powers, as Theo Jacumba reports.
Just driving casually on a Saturday, a marked car, police cars, got pulled over for no reason.
This was taken moments after Ranga was stopped and searched on the A5 near Milton Keynes. For 15 minutes, officers followed him as he was making his way home from his mother's house in Swindon. He was told by officers that there was a marker on his car for someone who has been deemed violent.
So I opened the door straight away, aggressively, sort of like, shift me out of the car, handcuffed me really tight, and again I kept, I was in shock, screaming, what's going on, what have I done?
After his incident, Ranga was unable to sleep, missed work and continues to have counselling.
So going forward, what would you like to see? Do you think there's anything that can be done to improve the way they use stop and search powers?
I might have children one day. I want them to, I want to share these experiences with them, but I don't want them to go through what I'm going through. So I'm hoping the people that are there to protect and service actually start putting in systems in place to actually try and make real change. And I'm only asking for one thing. I'm only asking for which is equality for all. Nothing more, nothing less.
In a statement, Thames Valley Police say the use of stop and search is guided by intelligence. Understanding the disproportionate use of any power is important. We do not want to discriminate against any particular community or group. Focus has been placed on how the police used their stop and search power following the incidents that happened involving the police in America. But how have our police forces across our region been performing? Over 18,500 people have been stopped and searched across our region. Cambridgeshire Police Force performed the best with 26% leading to action, whereas only 20% of stops in Northamptonshire were successful. Here at Cambridgeshire Police, a panel is being formed to scrutinise stop and search and use of force.
So we know from community panels that have operated in other counties that feedback that they've got from the community members around the way they talk to people, around some of the areas that they focus on, has actually resulted in positive outcomes. So we're hoping to get that same from our panel group, that stimulates some wider learning to increase our positive outcomes for our searches, both in drugs and stolen property and things that are used in crime.
Thames Valley Police say Ranga's incident is still under investigation. Theo Jacumba, BBC Look East.
Well, in Northamptonshire, that situation has changed quite dramatically since last year. Someone who's black used to be 9 times more likely to be stopped and searched. Now that figure is twice as likely. And one of the people really credited with bringing about that change is Superintendent Dennis Murray, who joins us on the programme tonight. Thank you ever so much for your time. You have been with the force for about 30 years. Why do you think there has been such a discrepancy in the stop and search policy, and how did you tackle it? How did you improve it?
Well, I think the first thing is that this has been a countrywide issue, and what Northampton Police were resolute on was absolutely understanding what their issues were, what the data was telling us. And the first thing we did was we called in some academics from the London School of Economics who gave us an independent review and gave us some advice around how we could build in community scrutiny and wrap a governance structure around this to make sure that everything was accountable. Now, one of the things that we have done is involve the community heavily so that they've got a voice on our panels. We actually go to them before we do a policing operation and say, how do we avoid using powers? How can you help us to resolve this issue without having to use any police powers whatsoever? And the advice they've given us and the involvement they have has been absolutely vital. Now, I know the figures there talked about Northampton Police was about 20%, but actually the volumes of our stop and search have drastically reduced, but our success rate has remained the same. So that in a different way is an actual improvement in that we're doing less stop and searches, and the stops that we are doing, we are getting results from.
You are about to leave the force, though, to do, well, I guess a similar thing, really, for British Transport Police, aren't you? Looking into racial discrimination. What do you want to achieve there?
Everybody talks about institutional racism within policing. Wouldn't it be really nice if we could get to the stage where all forces could say that they are institutionally inclusive? And that's what we're working towards. And that's what a lot of forces now are putting a lot of effort into. Things like the Black Lives Matters and some of the high profile cases have really put this on the agenda. And I think that people are starting to sit up and listen now. And Northants are ahead of the game in this. And I seek to take some of that learning to the British Transport Police, who are absolutely committed as well to making a difference.
Well, you've done an awful lot within the force. I guess you're probably going to miss it.
Northamptonshire Police has got a very family feel about it. It's all I've known in policing, and it's been really good to me. It took a young man who was left school with no qualifications, and I leave the force having, commanded half of the force in Northamptonshire, with a master's degree in policing and going on to do things now on a national scale with the British Transport Police. So I'm really grateful for what I've achieved in policing. I'm really grateful for having the opportunity to change things for the community. But I'm not done yet. I've still got plenty more that I want to do. And I'm looking forward to working with the communities within the British Transport Police and Northamptonshire, because I will still always be part of Northamptonshire and take this to a better place.
Well, that is fighting talk, and it's good to hear. For now, Superintendent Dennis Murray, thank you very much for talking to us on Look East tonight. Thank you.